Bienvenidas a otra lección con nuestra maestra. Hoy vamos a hablar sobre el subjuntivo y el indicativo. Present subjunctive versus present indicative. Keep in mind, we've been talking about the subjunctive. We know that the subjunctive is a mood, not a tense. It doesn't take place at a particular place in time. Number two, the actions in the subjunctive are not guaranteed to happen. We would like to see them happen, we recommend that they happen, but we cannot guarantee whether or not this action will take place, which is why we call it a mood. In order to conjugate verbs in the subjunctive, we already know that we need to understand our present indicative endings very well. So, to conjugate, you remember, you go to the present indicative form of the yo form of the verb in Spanish. Once we get to the yo form of the verb, we will drop the o. So remember, the verb say tener becomes tengo, yo, in the present indicative. We drop the o, then tener is an er verb. So we're going to add the opposite ending, which are endings that end in a. So the yo form of the subjunctive would be que yo tenga, que tú tengas, él, ella o usted tenga, nosotros tengamos y ellos tengan. Here is where you're getting somewhat new information. Please make sure to copy the notes in this slide. There's a pencil on it indicating so. The indicative mood is objective and certain. Whenever we use the present indicative, we talk about actions or events that we believe them to be facts, or basically that they are true. It is very typical when we are speaking of factual statements or describing obvious qualities of a person for us to use the present indicative tense. For example, Victoria estudia español. This is a fact. This is certain. Therefore, the verb estudia can be found in the present indicative. If I state as my second example, es cierto que Victoria estudia español, the fact that I began with es cierto, it is true, I am using the present indicative. Es cierto que Victoria estudia español. The subjunctive mood is subjective, and it is possible, but it's not certain. It cannot be guaranteed. We use it to talk about things that we have doubts about, things that we wish would happen, abstract emotions, or other unknown non-factual situations. We also use it when we're making recommendations, giving commands, and talking about how something makes you feel. Pretty much your emotions once again. It is also used to express an opinion about any other action. Opinions are the same way, not guaranteed to happen. We use the subjunctive whenever we want to talk about wishes. So whenever we're going to talk about wishes in a sentence, we're going to use the verb desear, esperar, exigir, insistir. Desear, to wish; esperar, to hope; exigir, to demand; insistir, to insist on. These are verbs that indicate wishes. Yo insisto que tú estudies para el examen. So you can hear me using the subjunctive estudies para el examen because I insist. Now, I am not guaranteed that you will study. We use the subjunctive to speak on emotions. Enojarse, alegrarse, sentir, encantar, o sorprenderse. Me alegro que tú ganes el premio. Impersonal expression, es extraño que, es importante que, es fantástico que, etc. Those are impersonal expressions. Es extraño que Mario no haya llegado. Recommendations, recomendar, sugerir, recomiendo, sugiero. Doubt and denial, when you use dudar o no creer. Dudo que tú hagas tu trabajo. No creo que vengas a la fiesta. Doubt and denial. And anytime you see ojalá, we must always use the subjunctive. Ojalá is that term, that expression that means hopefully, or like to God. As you can hear, ojalá sounds as a word that comes from Arabic descent. These uses of the subjunctive form WEIRDO, and that'll help you remember this. Wishes, emotions, impersonal expressions, recommendations, doubt and denial, and ojalá. Whenever you see ojalá, you are going to use the subjunctive. Parts of a subjunctive phrase. A subjunctive phrase must have two different subjects. Quiero que limpies el baño. I is quiero, limpies is tú. It must have two verbs. One WEIRDO, meaning desear, querer, and one subjunctive. Quiero que tú limpies el baño. Quiero is your WEIRDO indicator, and limpies is your verb in the subjunctive. It must also have a relative pronoun, que, quien, or como. Quiero que limpies el baño. There is our que. So, look at the sentence in blue. Yo quiero que tú limpies el baño. Quiero is your WEIRDO, que is your relative pronoun, and limpies your verb in the subjunctive. ¿Qué conjugaciones hay aquí? ¿Qué modos? ¿Qué tiempos? Let's see. No puedo pedir que el invierno perdone a un rosal. Puedo, no puedo, is your doubt, it's your denial. That is in the present indicative. Pedir is in the infinitive. There is your que is your relative pronoun. No puedo pedir que el invierno is your second subject. Your first subject is yo, puedo. Perdone is your verb from perdonar. No puedo pedir que el invierno perdone a un rosal. Perdone is in the subjunctive. Vamos a practicar. Número 1. Javier, querer que nosotros cenar en su casa. Querer is going to have to be in the present indicative. It's a wish, it's a desire. Que nosotros, that second part, must be in the subjunctive. Javier quiere que nosotros cenemos en su casa. Let's see number 2. Tú, dudar que los estudiantes se preparar para la prueba. Tú dudas que los estudiantes se preparen para la prueba. Número 3. Sara quiere blank un carro este año. Here, we must leave the verb in the infinitive. You cannot have two verbs that are conjugated back to back, and quiere is already conjugated for Sara. We also don't have a second subject, so therefore that verb must remain in the infinitive, giving you the answer, Sara quiere comprar un carro este año. Número 4. Yo me alegro. There is an emotion. So if we already have an emotion in the present indicative, yo me alegro que tú, blank, conjugar en el subjuntivo. The verb saber must be in the subjunctive. So therefore, yo me alegro que tú sepas conjugar en el infinitivo. Gracias por tu atención. Seguimos trabajando en clase. Be ready. Hint, hint. Could be a quiz. Winky face.